Okay,
We
here
good? Sorry.
So here you go. Okay, here we go. Season 2, supposedly.
Yes.
That's what this is, right? The Watch Journey. Justin Hast and Pete Odgers. We're going to talk you through all the lovely meanders of the beautiful watch world.
Yes.
In a new studio.
Yes.
And all of this work is from you, and I've done absolutely nothing. So my thanks to you, Justin, straight away off the bat. I mean, double me.
Guys,
I'm not sure people want to see two faces of me.
Can you see Pete? Yeah. Oh, you can. I'm looking at the camera now. So you can see Pete in the background there. So guys, we've now officially got some artwork. Pete had nothing to do with it, but also no say in it. So he may absolutely hate it. And you can be honest. It was just something that came out of thin air for me. But that's
do you want to know about that photo you got? Because you said, send me a photo.
Yeah,
send me a headshot.
What is the photo?
And I was like, look through, and then I used to have professional shots.
Is that your OnlyFans?
That's my OnlyFans.
Profile.
Yeah.
It's
just pure unadulterated watches.
Or your grinder.
It's nude watches. That actually was taken at Wimbledon, just a selfie with myself and Annabelle Croft. Do you know Annabelle Croft?
Wonderful woman.
And it was funny actually. That was early days of commentating with her. I've since commentated with her lots, become good friends with her. But that was just a random. I would take a selfie, and for some reason I thought,
Are you looking at the camera? No, you're not.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
You're actually posing into the distance. You're staring into the distance.
I'm
into
probably
the abyss.
looking at what I look like on the screen rather than looking at the actual, because I don't really do. I'm not a selfie. And that shows you how little selfies I do.
It's like, you know, when you do Zoom, the problem is you see such a big mug of yourself. You can't focus on the conversation or anyone else because you've got this fat image of yourself.
100%.
Anyway, guys, bloody hell. Season 1, Season 2, Episode 1. We've got a new studio update, as Pete says, and also the artwork. And what the artwork means, more importantly than the two mugs up on the screen there, is that...
Where are you looking, by the way?
I've got no idea. That's an official photo shoot for Subdial. And we need Subdial to sponsor this podcast at some point. They have not yet decided to sponsor us. But that was an official shoot where they did a little interview about trends for 2024. So that article is on the Subdial website if people are very, very bored and want to enjoy some rambles from myself. But what we're saying here, guys, is in this first episode, you can find us now on all streaming platforms. And that's cool. And you might have heard our jingle to open up, which we've never had before as well. So all of these things play into what we hope is going to be a strong second half of 2024.
I don't know whether you're an Office fan, but that just made me think. Professionalism is, and that's what I want.
I've been told I look a bit like him, actually. That's a side note.
That's kind of sort of... This is where you're taking us. You're taking us to new stratospheres. And I'm just making sure I'm keeping it real, holding our feet on the floor. Talking of that, your feet hasn't really been on the floor. It's been in the air.
Yeah.
I presume the air, not the train.
Yeah.
Because you have been... Because what a way to start Series 2.
Yes.
Or Season 2. You've been to Watches and Wonders. So first of all, I know we did one in Season 1.
Yep.
And you sort of told me what it's like, the ins and outs of it. So let's just get straight to the money shot.
Yep.
Your highlights, your lowlights. What was it like this year for you?
So overall, people, it was a joy. Honestly, it was the best one I've ever had. It was the best one I've ever had. No, it was the best one I've ever been to. And I think sometimes, because it is work in the sense that often you're going there, writing stories live there and then, you're bloody posting on 6 or 7 different phones on 6 or 7 different channels, trying to get it all out. And you sometimes lose the joy of it. And you sometimes also lose the ability to focus on what you're seeing. You might be presented with something amazing. Just thinking off the top of my head, like a Lange Lumen Datograph, Tourbillon Perpetual, and you're like, wow, this is amazing. Then you move on to the next thing. Then you struggle to really appreciate the moments. But this year I felt that I really did. It was a bit like maybe when you're playing in a big cup match. You've played in a few over the years and you're like, you know what, today I'm actually going to go and enjoy myself. And I felt like that was my theme for this year. So I had a really, really good time. It was very busy. I think the general sense was it was a year of like evolution, not revolution in the sense that
that's an Alan Partridge.
There you go. You got that one as well. I'll take that.
Just getting all that anyway. Yeah, carry on.
It was about subtle incremental adjustments across the board, and maybe some of the media thought there was no big bangers, but truth be told, there was some big bangers. There was world records left, right, and centre, and there was some really cool shit. So actually, it was a great year. The fun, the real fun to me was the people, and this sounds cliche, but you've got people from all over the world. A lot of people we know online, a lot of people through social, a lot of friends. And the cool thing is that you get to interact with full high energy. So people are flying around. You've got meeting after meeting after meeting in this big sort of, Pal Expo environment. And you get to have a 2-minute full on injection of energy And then you're like, hey, catch you later, see you later. And so it's just a high after a high after a high after a high. So all of that playing in was amazing. And this year I wasn't on a Thai massage parlor bed, which I was 5-6 years ago.
Well, that's a recovery.
When I paid for my own hotel room, and the only thing I could afford was an Airbnb, a Thai massage parlor. But that's
you
another
slept
story.
on the massage table?
I slept on the leather massage table with the hole in the bed.
With the Thai girl next to you?
She just left, actually.
Okay.
But that's the thing, right? The years have gone by, and they very kindly support you in paying for a flight and a hotel. So anyway, amazing trip.
And you're a big deal in the watch industry,
absolutely,
as we all know.
Incorrect,
right?
Incorrect.
No, 100%. As in, but you're even more now. It's like your star has. I was even on. As you know, I'm not on Instagram, but I go on YouTube, and there's YouTube. What is it called? Shorts, I think they're called, which I think is what they do on TikTok. And first thing that pops up from Watches and Wonders is your. Yeah, I mean, sadly, I had to see your mug, I think, but as in pops up Le Mans. Gold edition, Rolex, and then like Hodinkee are covering your version of what you filmed there, and so and every clip of it, and I think I even did listen to the Hodinkee podcast, and I said it was a really odd release, that Gold Le Mans, because was it a release or wasn't it a release? And I was like, some journalists might have been told off for what he shot there. So I want to know that the true story here. Now, there's theories. I've chatted to various friends of mine going, well, did Rolex sort of go, we're going to pick a journalist that we quite like, God knows why. They're going to pick a journalist.
They would never have picked me because I've never posted a Rolex on my Instagram channel ever before.
Really?
Believe it or not.
I wondered whether that maybe they just did a twister sort of Russian roulette.
Honestly,
and they just thought they left it there.
I've got to clear the air. I've got to clear the air, and I've got to clear my name.
Tell us the story.
Publicly, I've got to clear the air and clear my name.
You're not liked by Rolex.
No, I'm a persona non grata. I'm blacklisted from Rolex. I've never bought anything in my life, but I am now blacklisted and never will buy anything.
Oh, really?
No, that's incorrect. I'm not.
Okay.
So here's the deal. I honestly, I had this meeting. I couldn't even book a meeting with Rolex. They were not taking a meeting with me. They're lovely people in the UK team. This is the way it works for Watches and Wonders. You sort of message the brand, you ask about a time which might work, you have a touch and feel session, and they've got to have a rebrand of what that means, because that's not the right way to put it.
That's not the time massage.
But it's a touch and feel. No, I had a touch and feel like the night before. But no, touch and feel session. But Rolex did not have any slots, okay? And the same with Patek for me. I was representing the Gentleman's Journal magazine this year, so I was doing video work for them. And they didn't have a slot, even though they are an advertiser. So they still didn't have a slot. So I literally messaged my dear friend and old mentor and boss, Tracy Llewellyn, who works for the Telegraph Time. She does the Telegraph Time magazine for watches. She's wonderful, one of the greats in the industry. And I said, Trace, hey, could I jump in on your meeting at Rolex? Because I could see she was in, I think they told me she was in at 8:30. The show only really starts at 8:39. So it would be my first appointment on Tuesday morning at the show, my very first moment at Watches and Wonders. And I know that the algorithm loves Rolex, and I know that everybody wants to know what's coming from Rolex, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not necessarily as interested, but I know most people are. Anyway, the leaks were out. We sort of knew what was going to come out going in, which was a shame. What we expected came out: the solid gold deep sea, yellow gold, the grey and black bezel GMT Master 2, and some
beautiful mother of pearl,
Daytonas, and other thing. But we had the presentation. I was shooting on 2 cameras, 2 phones, etc. And I said, guys, thanks for having me. It's a quick meeting. It's like 20 minutes in and out. So you've got to be really quick. I've got the camera crew here. We've got these little diffusers going, and we've got all that stuff going. As I'm walking out the door, someone knocks on the door and says, oh, guys, sorry, we've got some Daytona to show you. I was like, brilliant. We haven't actually shot those because I knew they were diamond bezel, mother of pearl, subdials, etc. Very beautiful. Brings the box in, puts the box down, opens the box. I can see all what I'm expecting to see. And next minute, just perched in the corner. I didn't touch it. And you might have seen the video. It was just perched in the corner.
That's what I mean.
Didn't touch it.
Almost as if they slipped
and I was
that
like,
in.
oh, guys, that's a Le Mans. And they were like, yeah, that's a Le Mans. I was like, what's that? I didn't see that in there. That didn't come out in the leaks. And I'm like, yeah, no, it didn't. And it was just a moment where everything sort of went quiet. No one said anything. I didn't say anything. I just got my phone out. Started recording.
And they were okay with that?
They were okay with that. Now, I did the video. I honestly didn't think twice about it. The funniest thing is I know so little about Rolex that I posted it up on my Instagram just to say the steel Le Mans from last year has been discontinued for the yellow gold. Now, I realized it was a big deal about 5 minutes after I walked out the boutique and saw the phone just going bonkers. 70 or 80 reshares and a lot of comments already saying, by the way, it's a white gold. It was white gold last year.
Yeah.
I know it's white gold.
Yeah.
Anyway, updated that. Then was like, it just went bonkers. And I guess it went out on some of the big pages on Watch a Niche, put it out, all these characters, guys I've not even met before putting it out there. And And then I did have a quick meeting with one of the guys from Hodinkee later on in the day. Say, by the way, we went in for the meeting and they didn't show it to us. They weren't going to show it to us. So
actually, it was the Telegraph journalist that they really loved.
So Tracy, they really love Tracy, and that's a fact. Okay. Tracy, they love you. We know that. She wears a Milgauss and wears nothing else, and loves that watch. And anyway, that's it, Pete. And you know, I heard mixed reports. I heard some reports from my colleague who was in that Hodinkee meeting to say there was some negativity from their team coming at them about my behaviour, which I genuinely mean, sincerely, was completely innocent. But then subsequent to that, I've also heard from Russell Sheldrake, who's at Time and Tide, my good friend in the UK. He got some time with the watch and he actually got to wear it and did some bits and pieces. And he says, no, they're all laughing about it. It's all good.
Yeah.
So I think that watch is off catalogue. That's the reality of it. I think it's off catalogue. I mean, it was off bloody catalogue for everybody anyway, wasn't it? I mean, it's irrelevant whether it's on catalogue, off catalogue, up the catalogue, around the catalogue. It's not coming to anyone.
Although I saw last night, I watched a bit of football in the UK. Jamie Carragher, who's well known. He was wearing the white gold Le Mans, but even so, that was impossible to get or
I couldn't help but immediately think, because we were talking about Hodinkee, and I couldn't immediately help but think about Ben, who's at Hodinkee, who's got who's got the Le Mans, and he's also got, as of that trip I saw, and I gather he has had it for some time, and I hope he doesn't mind me sharing it, but the Rexep RC2 with the diamond baguette markers in black, and it just struck me that, shit, I'm getting worried about traveling with one or two little bits of mine. That man is now, based on that release, because the Le Mans in white gold, one year done.
I think it was 6 months.
6 months done.
6 months, yeah.
So suddenly that to me, and I called a couple of our friends who are dealers and said, if you get offered one today, I suggest you buy it. Yeah. Because to me, that's got to be a £500,000 watch. Yeah. I mean, whether that lasts very long, we don't know. But immediately off the back of that, I'm sure there would be someone prepared to pay that.
See, my theory with your story, and this is what I kind of, because you know what Rolex are like. Rolex like little leaks and people, it's a really clever way. I mean, everything they do is so well thought through. I wonder how they thought about the releases being leaked, because they were overly leaked this time as in before watch. Usually you have the little snippets. They love the tease videos, obviously. But with the Le Mans watch, I thought it's actually a really smart thing for them to do. Get a journalist just to go, in this corner of the box, you sort of half see it, and it creates hype, and it creates everyone going, oh, there's another Le Mans, there's another, you know, and then it sort of slowly snowballs online, and that gives this sort of, it's more of a buzz. So I think actually, whether they had planned that out, I don't know. Obviously, they can't have planned it that well because they might not have known you're fully going to be in that meeting, but clearly they thought 8:30 in the morning, let's get it out there. And you just were probably the lucky guy that sort of stumbled in. There was
one other guy, I think, from the Italian market who was presented with it. So there was two of us, as I understand, that from the hours 8:30 to about 10:30, I think that was me, and then I think he kicked in at about that point with his, which he did get a bit of a wrist roll vibe going on. I mean, it was just funny, and it added some real energy to the day, and added energy to the show.
Were you worried though at all? Because
no,
I know. Look, you don't buy much Rolex, but as in, they're still a powerhouse. They're still an amazing.
And by the
brand
way, I personally don't subscribe to the idea of, I don't want to upset anyone. Fundamentally, and I know people work forever for these projects. They really do spend a lot of time, and the last thing I want is leaks and other things. And I really didn't expect the response. I really didn't want that to happen. Someone did say immediately, it was like, oh God, surely they would tie it in with the Le Mans, the race and other things. It seemed that it was strange to be all of these things. I actually think that it was a bit of a mistake. I think it was not meant to be in that box. I think they might have shown it to a few big collectors possibly that had been flown in, privately, just to show them as a carrot. But I don't think it was meant to be in there. And I think they decided that it's now out.
They're now working.
Now let's go with it. Let's just roll with it. We'll never know. And that's the thing about Rolex. We'll never know. Even the releases the day before, the proper leaks of those videos, we'll never know. And I think that's the fun of Rolex.
Did you ask them about that?
I did. They were upset
someone
about
gone?
That. They were upset.
So someone,
they were upset
have they
about
found
that.
out who?
But whether
they're
they were
such an amazing machine, Rolex.
Amazing.
They're incredible what they do.
11 billion Swiss franc business. Could be a 15 billion.
And anyone I've ever chatted to who's worked for them always has absolutely loved it. And that's why they're able to usually keep secrets and everything like that, because if you're on the inside.
But what I would say to people is I honestly looked at the team there, and I say this because they're lovely, lovely women. I don't think they knew what was going on. And I don't think that they, I think honestly that things aren't shared in a vertical fashion within the business. I think things are kept fairly tight, really tight. So anyway, that was probably the start. That was the star moment of the show, really. And it's interesting that they went for white gold first and then yellow gold, because it struck me, with Vacheron the 222, they went with yellow gold first with a polo from Piaget yellow gold first, and then it probably turns platinum. It probably goes white gold. So strategically, it was quite interesting for them to go white gold. The irony, just to put the final cherry on the cake for the story, is I actually was invited to the original launch at Le Mans. They had 3 journalists from around the world. This is actually quite funny.
I think they secretly do like you.
No, but they didn't really know it was me coming. So I was writing a story for Square Mile magazine, who are a great magazine in London. And Mark Headley, the editor there, said, hey, just go along to Le Mans because they've got a new watch coming. We don't know what it is. Because apparently the Le Mans was really the first Daytona, right? It was never going to be about Daytona, the race in America. It was always going to be, it was actually in some of the marketing collateral referred to as the Le Mans. The Le Mans. So actually, I think we've had there's been a misstep there in the story as well. I got invited to go to Le Mans and couldn't go, and I said no, and I saw and I couldn't go because there was something going on at home. I was doing some babysitting or something, and then I saw the release on a Saturday. I was like, oh my god, people are going bonkers for this thing, and you have missed one of the great opportunities. You should have fought harder at home to get that trip booked in. So that's the whole story. That is the whole story, and it is what it is now.
So what were your thoughts on the Rolex releases as well?
Honestly, I did not leave thinking twice about them after I left, and I mean that with respect. I respect the business of radio. None of them left me feeling anything. I honestly looked at Tracy's wrist and I saw her beating up Milgauss, and I thought, wow, I've never considered a modern Rolex before buying one, but I like that watch, and I like the idea of a steel strap sports watch that doesn't sit in the collection like that at the moment. And I thought, so anyway, I started looking on Chrono to see how much those cost, and they've crept up in price because people thought we were going to get a new Milgauss.
Yes, yeah, that's been the case for years.
And we didn't. And then I thought, God, maybe this is the year to look at a Milgauss. Then I started looking at the old, is it 1655 Explorer, the original Explorer, the big orange hand Explorer.
What did you make of the 1980? I quite like the update of that. That was probably the one that out of
1908,
1908, sorry.
Yeah, so Guilloche dial, blue ice dial, that was beautiful. And actually last year, that was my favourite from them as well. As a dress watch, I would definitely wear that. I wouldn't wear the blue, I'd actually wear the one from last year. I think the blue's punchy, the blue's cool. It's just I like the more subdued dials that they did last year. So that was actually my favourite watch they produced.
It's nice when we disagree because I just felt, look, I've never seen it in the flesh. So again, I always think you shouldn't judge what you don't see in the flesh. But I felt the dials. I thought, am I going to buy a Rolex dress watch? Number one, when there's so much choice elsewhere. It's got to be something special to really catch my eye. And I felt those releases last year, nicely done, of course, but the dials for me were a bit dull. There was nothing there that gripped me.
But this
so this looked like it popped, and I thought, okay, that's something I might, as you know, I like my colour.
It's kind of bizarre looking at, I know it's guilloche done by machine, not guilloche done by hand, which is different. Our friends at Anderson Genève do sort of hand guilloche, and Breguet do hand guilloche. But it's strange to see Rolex doing guilloche because it's jarring in many ways because, what Rolex is about simplicity, robustness, and mass production, whereas you see this guilloche, you're like, wow, that's interesting. I really liked it.
Well, that was another thing because it was more the stories of what got discontinued. Obviously, the Le Mans, which was the big story, only 6 months. I think that's a record, as in terms of having a watch out and then taking it away from everyone. Palm dial went, as well did some of the other. And I remember when I bought the Palm dial, the laser machine was talked about loads in terms of, they put so much money into being able to do these dials and, mass manufacture them, and they'd spent, millions on a machine. And yet almost all the patented dials have now gone, and yet have they just made that laser machine do guilloche? As in, it's a weird pivot. And again, that's only been 3 years. And so I was a bit surprised that they're not
dissimilar, and we might be detouring here somewhat, but it's not dissimilar to what's happened at Bremont, because obviously one of the big stories, and probably the most fascinating story for me of the whole show, was the fact that it's got bigger and bigger and bigger, the show itself, and it included brands like Nomos and Bremont this year. And that whole story is just absolutely fascinating to me. And I think in 5-10 years' time, we will definitely look back as a case study in business as to what the hell has happened there.
Yeah.
Because I hear some of those machines that they'd invested in at Bremont are no longer. Those machines have gone. This mission of in-house watchmaking has gone. I looked on the website last night for their sports watch. I can't remember what it was called now, but that's gone.
The big one.
That's gone now. It's not even on the website.
AP or
thing. It's not even on the website anymore. And the outcry from people, even Nico from Nico Leonard putting a video up saying how sort of unhappy he was. it is funny to see how much people actually cared or seemed to want to care for a brand that they really did kick for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, before this happened, people were like mourning the loss. I get it from some of my colleagues in the media because they've known the brothers at Bremont for 10 plus years.
They're still behind the scenes though, right?
They're on the board.
Yeah.
They're not involved in the day-to-day as I understand it. And they were not involved in this design process. But I've been mourning a little bit. And I spoke to Tim Barber, who's a great editor, last night about this. And we were both sort of feeling sad that, you know, what we knew and kind of loved in some way. I never bought one. I never owned one. But it had a mission, it had a British mission, and it was a watchmaking mission that we could all get behind. Yeah. So yes, it's a bit like, and the way we analogized it was, you know, when you break up with someone, you immediately start looking at all the things that you loved about them, and you're like, shit, she did this, or he did this, he did this, he did that. I'm gonna get back with them. And you get back with them, and then you realize all the bad things are still there as well. And you're like, no, I'm done. So it's just a fascinating story.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned with that, it's funny. So, as you know, I sometimes get a couple of mates around to do, at the end of the year, your favorite watches. And sometimes I throw in a question like, you know, your least favorite brand or something that, you know, doesn't chime with you. And Bremont almost, and I apologize for this, but it almost always comes up. But in terms of a brand that no one connects with, they thought the pricing's too high. There's been nothing there that they've really loved. But at the same time, as far as my opinion on it goes, I've always said I don't understand their design identity. There's nothing there that grips me and pulls me in. Having said that, you know, the bits of the RAF planes that they put into the watches, I thought those stories are fantastic. Those little bits I love. And being British, wanting to cheer on British watchmaking, the fact they were going to try and do that in-house, it was going to be in Britain. You were cheering on at the sidelines there. But I'd said time and time again, they needed a brand identity, because if you'd said, right, name a Bremont design or any watch of theirs that I thought I might like, there was nothing to I'm quite a dial guy, and there was nothing to really any of the dials that I thought. It was the same as the sports watch they released. Now look, I can take the sort of AP Royal Oak bracelet if there's something interesting on the dial, and it just felt like a plain dial. So I completely understand the need to redo it, and I understand the gap in the market right now, because so many of the precious watch, you know, the watch companies, the prices have gone up and up and up, and you know, I look at mates going, well, we're in sort of almost, people are struggling right now. So if you're saying, I've earned 4K, like I could just about afford 4K, then suddenly Bremont now is accessible, and you know it's still going to be a good watch. You know, it's going to be well made. You know that there's a lot of thought going into the design aesthetic, and so I always think give them a go, give them time. I quite like the redesign. It's again, they're not watches particularly I would like to buy.
You like the aesthetic of the new watches?
The new watches
and the logo.
The new watches. The old watches. There wasn't a watch that I went for and could go for, and
Did you
so
not
I
like
prefer
the Martin Baker?
I prefer this new logo.
Okay.
And I prefer, and I just see where some of the pilot watches and whatnot are going. Now, it is more for the mass market. So, yeah, look, I still am not, it's not for me. But again, those sort of watches, mass market watches, aren't overall for me. Yeah. So it has to be something unique that pulls me in. But I did think it needed a rebrand. And they clearly were losing money. They clearly had to do something. So I think you sort of take your hat off and just go, okay.
They've had Capital, these guys come in, these Americans. Yeah. I can't remember his name now.
Sad as you say, though, is in losing what they've done and what they've built up.
But it's amazing now, you see the photos, people posting stuff up, and it's like, wow, they did have a brand design. They had a triptych case. You know, their cases were interesting. The Martin Baker was an interesting idea. The fact that it was something that could survive, whether it could or not, God only knows. And they happened to be brilliant. The two of them were lovely guys. You know, anyone who ever met them would always say, I want to buy a watch because of you guys.
Yeah. I cheered them on. I just didn't. I was like, I want you to release a watch that I didn't particularly like the design icon, because it's a propeller, wasn't it?
It was,
and I felt that looked either too like something in the water, or too like, and it just felt it was too almost RAF, which then meant you're buying a watch that had to be.
It's an airplane watch company, an aviation watch, pilot watch company.
Exactly, which limits you as a brand.
And that's exactly what Davide Serrato, you know, the new CEO, who's ex Tudor, ex Mont Blanc, as you can see with the designs. He was actually HYT for a little bit as well, and left very quickly. And I think, you know, people look at him. He's a very stylish man. He's clearly got great design chops about him. Privately, people have sort of wondered whether he actually had that overall leadership capacity. What role did he play in the Black Bay? We'll never know. But was he part of a big machine who hit a home run at the right time, at the right point, at the right price, etc.? Yes, he was. It's really, really interesting. I quite like the logo. So for me personally, I quite like the logo. I agree entirely. They needed to make a change. They needed to make a change. But I think what they could have done is taken some of those key elements from a design perspective that were good. The case was good. Even from the profile, the case was good. The Martin Baker. And then riffed on that at a lower price point. So they've literally half the price point. So, before it was $5,500. Now it's at like $2,500, as I understand. Yeah. All closed case back. Solita movements, and no longer. So
that's the sad thing.
It looks nothing like a Bremont. So I would have liked the change in logo. Yes, that would have still been shocking by itself. I like the idea of more value. Could we offer people more value? But would I like to have seen some of the DNA from a design perspective continue? Because that market's very, very tough at that price point. I'm wearing Baltic a lot at the moment, and they are they're half their price, and they're Solita movements, and they're offering incredible design detail and touch and consideration and thought. So I'm saying I would have liked to have seen more considered design. Will they make a success out of it? I think they probably will. It's going to be hard work. It's going to be really hard because right now it's hell out there for them. It's absolute hell. But it's similar to AP during the Code 1159. It's hell out there right now. Yeah. So can they hold the line during hell? Like in many ways, it's wartime conversation.
I do think everyone likes to jump on I feel chatting to watch lovers. That I didn't hear lots of positivity about Bremont, and that's British watch lovers. And now, having said that, the one guy I knew who did buy a Bremont, I'm actually been working with him this week, and he's not a huge watch lover, but he dips his toe in, and he loved. He had one of the RAF ones where it had a piece of an RAF, and he loved that because I think his dad drove. His dad flew one, and great connection. He loved the watch, but it did have issues. So he had a rubber strap on it, and it was a Bremont rubber strap, and it broke, and it kept breaking. And he then said they were then charging him £800 to then and he was like, well, this is a manufacturing error. And even with that, because he's not that into watches, he didn't realize the rebrand. So I said to him, have you seen the Bremont rebrand? And I could see I sat with him as he looked at it, and he was so gutted because he didn't like it, he loved the fact that he had, those little pieces that were there, but he also felt he didn't like the rebrand. The prices coming down loads, he spent a load of money on his. So suddenly 12 years time, 15, 20 years time, we're going to, if it stays that way, suddenly the old Bremont.
A few colleagues have said, I think they're done.
Yeah, okay.
And that's scary, and that's sad.
From a British point of view, I really hope they do pull through, because you want British watchmakers, and they put so much into it. And I was always cheering them on. I just didn't connect with any of their watches, which was the issue, which something needed to change on that. If you've got me, all my watch-loving friends not connecting, they needed to change. So, okay, they've changed. Maybe it's not the right direction, but
talking dials, and I have to confess, we've done this for at least a year now, and I didn't realize that you were that focused on dials. But I have to say, the Starry Seas, and I saw a few watches at the show, and let me just give you a couple of them because they're actually brilliant. A couple of watches that were not launched this year, but I'd never really got to spend time with, that blew me away. First one, Starry Seas at De Bethune, who was showing at Beau Rivage, the hotel. There's a few brands that pop up in the city around the week, and De Bethune are doing an amazing job. That watch and a dial, it's incredible dial, incredible case as well. Then Tom Exton, he was rocking a Revolution Chopard 1860 with a sort of champagne dial.
By the way,
that was incredible, and the salmon that his friend Mo was wearing, those two together for me was one of the great moments of the week, seeing them together. Wow!
I'll jump in there. Yeah. So obviously Starry Seas, I'm in love with it. I mean, Purple Rain or Starry Seas, which way for you?
Starry Seas for me.
Starry Seas, yeah. Okay.
Purple Rain was the new one they just launched. It's got like a purple case and a purple dial, and you liked it, but not as much as the blue. No. The blue dial's insane.
But also amazing what they do with how they burn steel and things like that to get different colours and all that.
Incredible.
So the craftsmanship there, they are just insane. Anyway, move past that because we could chat about that all day. And we've done podcasts on that. So 1860 Revolution. So one thing, because I was thinking last year, I remember saying to you, I was a little bit underwhelmed with Watches and Wonders. But then I looked back and went, actually, you had the rework that I loved, and for me, the LUC 1860 was the other one that I remember saying to you, those were the two watches for me from there, and they got better with age. And I think obviously the re-edition, as you say, with the Revolution watch.
What I didn't even know about was the fact that LUC Chopard LUC used the same dial making facility as Philippe Dufour. So the simplicity is made in the same place as that watch. So you're talking about 20,000 quid dress watch from Chopard and God knows how much now from Dufour.
Yeah.
And a dial is the first way you interact with the watch. It's the way you connect, and you can tell. It's incredible.
My story on that was I went to Leeds. I sometimes commentate up in Leeds, and I told you about this guy Michael, who I met at Dubai Watch Week, who's had Carry Voutilainen watches, one of ones handed to him. He's got terminal cancer, but he's doing fantastically well. And Ludovic Boulward, I'm sure we'll get him on the pod to tell his proper story. Flew over, gave him a watch. He has an incredible collection, and not to put those watches down at all. He says that they're insane and absolutely amazing as they are. But he said he just got hold of the 1860 LUC, the Revolution watch.
Oh, the Revolution one.
Yeah. And he just said he's never seen a watch like it. He was just completely blown away. He's been blown away by that watch more than anything else. And he has collections where he spent 200K on a watch and things like that. And yet, he was showing me pictures and videos of it. And I was like, oh my, I'm so jealous, because that's exactly a watch I've completely
And by the way, they had a few
with.
of them in London here, and they literally had them waiting to go immediately on the spot. So you have to wait for the salmon a year plus, whereas those were in the store ready to rock and roll.
Well, Tom Exton had said to me, I might be able to secure you one if you want. And I was like,
last message you want to receive on a Sunday night is that your watchmate messaging saying, I can't secure you one if you want.
If I can speak. And what a lovely guy Tom is. And he went out off, and I said, look, try it, because I absolutely love that watch. It's absolutely insane. And he went off, and I said, look, it's a really bad time. And then actually in the week, I got a tax bill that I wasn't expecting. And so he then comes back and goes, yeah, you've got to decide this week. And I was just like, well, it can't happen. I have no money.
Okay.
I'm minus money.
And that's okay.
But it was one of those things where I was like, that's probably never going to come back to me. But I did think it's funny how it tied in with Watches and Wonders, because I do think that watch has got better over the last year, as has the Airwork reworked, as in those watches I think more of now. So my question to you is, of the Watches and Wonders releases, what are we going to be talking about in a year's time? Straight
off the top.
Yeah.
Hermès.
Okay.
Launched a watch for women. As you walk into the presentation, this is a woman's watch called the Cut. Not a million miles away from the H08 that we know. No date this time. More circular, more round dial. And that type font they developed for the H08 is now sort of around this beautiful dial. 36mm case, stainless steel. Off-center crown. Strap is the squidgy, beautiful feeling. It's almost like you could eat it. It's that supple.
Nice.
Colors, amazing colors, very pastel-y colors. White dial. You can get it in two-tone and other things, but for me, the steel version was amazing. I think it's like $3-4 grand. A Vacheron movement, so the same place that they make Richard Mille and Parmigiani movements and stuff, so top-notch stuff. If that were in 38mm, I'd be placing an order there and then. It's that simple.
And what is it? Because it's interesting, actually. The Scottish Watch guys, I listened to their podcast actually on the way over here, and he said, I think, because I saw that watch as well and went, ladies' watch, and I was like, I would wear that. I was like, that looks really cool. Like, I really like that. As in, and I don't really care. I don't care whether it's, as you know, I don't really care about the sizes of watches. But that from afar, that also took me. And I was a bit surprised they went ladies' watch. I know some of it says unisex. It's sort of ladies/unisex. But I kind of
think that was a mistake. I think that was actually, because, we've got a lot of men, it feels like, in the watch world saying, hey, these are unisex things now. And that's right. It's absolutely right. But then to walk into a presentation where, a couple of female execs from Hermès, an amazing brand, are saying, hey, this is a woman's watch, it immediately jarred with me a little bit, as it should now, moving forward, from whomever it comes from. Because to me, the guys in the room were loving it. There was a group of us, about 50 in the room. Everyone was like, oh my God, this thing's super cool, great design. The case is tiered. It's really stand out. Hermès, make it in 38, and I'll buy one.
And that's where AP is smart, because they don't. So they say there's no
honest,
ladies or
no
men's.
one does anymore. No one does anymore. Thank God, no one does anymore.
Yeah.
I just thought that was a little bit of constructive feedback to the exec team.
But Hermès are just knocking out the park.
Smashing it. They are flying up
H08, and then they had that tourbillon. They had all other
have you
stuff.
seen
Was
that,
it
they're on the rankings, the annual rankings stuff that comes out from Morgan Stanley, whatever. They're flying up that. They've jumped multiple places. I think they are going really in a wonderful direction.
It felt like a great Watches and Wonders for jewelry brands. And now I've talked to you before about what's a watch brand and what's a jewelry brand, because it felt like Cartier had some great releases. Would you say Piaget, are they a jewelry brand? As in
No.
Chopard is technically a jewelry brand as well.
Chopard,
So
I would say probably is, but let's
Okay.
not forget it was in 1994 that Carl Frederick Soufflet, the guy who bought Chopard, and he's also bought Ferdinand Berthoud, which is
Yeah.
even more niche. But that's when they launched that first model and that in-house caliber that people. Mine was blown. But Piaget had been making ultra thin movements for the watch world for a long time. And I think that the misconception is people think that but they're not. And one of the absolute standouts of the show was a world record breaking tourbillon at 2 millimeters thick. 2 millimeters was the same size as the Altiplano concept, the ultimate concept they had done last year before last. I can't remember whether that was a tourbillon. I think that was just time only. But it's got to the point now, it's like, no, we're not going to get any bigger than 2 mil. That's our limit now for how big it goes. So we need to fit a tourbillon in there. So it's, by all accounts, 10 years of R&D. It was bonkers, absolutely bonkers. Yeah. And Piaget are just flying at the moment. And the Altiplano, has not, I love the Altiplano, but for me, the Andy Warhol watch has always been the one that spoke to me, and stone-dialed vintage watches. But now Piaget, just the 150th anniversary this year, they're absolutely flying. So can't be more positive about
So,
Piaget.
I mean, again, from afar, because this is why it's always interesting. You go, I mean, although with Dubai Watch Week's the other way around, but from afar, my disappointment with Watches and Wonders this year was, look, the LEs, when I say accessible watches, like to me, that's under 20 grand or even under 30 grand, as in, okay, it's sort of, okay, I could maybe one day earn enough to get there. And it felt like there was a lot of world records and things like that, which I think, that's great if you're there and you get to see it. But, and great, because you're pushing the boundaries of watchmaking, which you want to continue. But there wasn't something where I went away and went, I really want to own that watch. The only one I did, and you might be surprised by this,
Hublot.
was no. It was Piaget, but it was their 150th. I loved the polo
For him and her.
The his and her.
Yeah.
As in, I just was it the Gladroons? Is that what they call them? As in, because obviously
So
those
it had
are
gilt accents, gold accents on
which
it,
are from the 1979.
Oh, the Gadroons.
The Gadroons, not Gladroons. Gadroons,
which are more prevalent on the polo.
But that went under the radar, it seemed. As in, I know that seemed to be a late release in Watches and Wonders. I think it's 300 pieces. Yeah. But look, the Polo, I know the Polo S, that is, when it got released, everyone compared it to the Nautilus and to
that for me this year has still been probably the standout launch of the year. Actually, that Polo, irrelevant of ETA, crons, or all sorts of shit that's going on.
But that's the Polo before the sports Polo. So do you know the sports Polo?
I mean the sort of this 79 Polo. So they call it the Polo 79.
That was incredible.
To me, incredible.
But the one that they did with the sports Polo,
this one has been in the catalogue for some time.
Yes.
Some people think looks like an Aquanaut.
Yes, Aquanaut.
But actually, it's got its own DNA. The hands
agree.
are very different. Yeah. It's got a running
seconds.
This
version of it,
very nice.
I felt was lovely because it was a lovely sort of.
But you 12, and the missus have to get behind it. You both have to get behind it.
But it's 12. It's 12K. Can you buy them? You have to buy both.
Buy them together. It comes as a package. As I understand it.
I don't think it is that way. On their website, you can buy. It says like 14K. For that one. Maybe. So I was thinking for 14K, I think maybe 12 to 14K. And I was thinking, the amount of people buying Rolexes and whatnot, and you can buy one of 300, 150th year anniversary piece of Piaget, and it has staple pieces of the 79 Polo, something that you can't really actually afford. And I thought, what a lovely little, and I love the sort of sludge coloured, because I just thought actually that went with everything. It was sludge coloured, rubber strap, and the dial. I thought it was just classy,
like an off-brown.
Yeah, it was an off-brown, and I think like with a shirt it would work and look smart. And then I think actually you could wear it with shorts, and I just thought actually what a versatile, cool watch.
It's the sort of thing that I promise you, if you had, you'd wear a lot.
Yeah,
it's exactly that watch.
That's what I mean by releases this year. Watching Wonders. That was about the one watch I went, I could buy that and wear that all the time. Don't get me wrong, really like the Hermès as well. So we got the same.
That was.
Yeah. What do you make of the Pigeon Elegant?
Amazing fun.
Gino.
I tell you what, getting home and wearing that Elegant again just brought me a lot of joy, and realised how much of an incredible watch it is. And I actually got a message from Paul Croughton, who's the editor at Rob Report UK, and he was like, very elegant man.
Did a great job.
Very elegant man. He sent me a photo he took at the Jean Boutique of the Titanite with the black dial. He was like, I never expected to like this watch, but I've just fallen hard for it. And I messaged him immediately saying, you won't fall until you try it, until you wear it, until you feel it on the wrist. It's the go-to for me for any activity going where you still want to have a bit of quiet punch about you, but you want to wear something that makes you feel good and makes you like, hey, no one.
Do you wear it in swimming?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I've worn it on summer holidays last year. Loved it.
Because I tell you something, there's been a subtle change. Because when I bought the Elegant years ago, I swear it was 50 meter water resistant. And I know Francois Paul himself said it's up to 100. You can go swimming in it. We just haven't
Screw down crown.
officially screw down crown. And I've noticed now it says 30 meter on the official release. Now I don't know whether they've just gone, oh sod it, we'll just release it. We know it's 100 meters, but I've just thought, because obviously I should be getting the black dial one. Fingers crossed.
From Paris.
And again, if I could find the money, God knows. But it should be happening. But yeah, with the I like what they did with the diamonds, but there was ceramic, right?
So glass.
So
they're coloured glass. And I think speaking to them there, the reason is that they didn't want it to be prohibitively expensive. So it's still very expensive at something
37,
like 30.
I think.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
If you get one at retail, you're still probably in the money. I mean, you're definitely in the money. But it's an amazing watch. And let's be clear, it's about honouring a man who I never got to meet, but Gino, who is the co-founder of the brand, by all accounts, a real lively character. I mean, you look at the watch and you think this guy's going to be a character.
Yeah.
Full on colours, a bit like you, like big colourful jumpers. You know,
wearing black.
No, not today. But you know what I mean. He's by all accounts a lovely man and pivotal and just a nice message. And it's going to be in the catalogue for good, I think.
And I also thought they both looked really different. It's amazing what a white dial and a black dial does.
Yep.
And with the titillite, and they both looked really different. I wasn't sure on one, and then I thought, actually, I quite like that.
But I have to say, the problem I found was I walked in and I said, to Nathan, the PR guy there, I was like, the clocks, the Sovereign clocks that they have. And I was like, is that for sale? They're like, yeah, just in the boutique. They've got them for sale. It's an alarm functioning quartz watch. You can buy them. You can actually just go in and buy them, which I was surprised by. Probably shouldn't be, but I am. And then we got out the Oxa Reserve, the platinum and the pink gold salmon dial, and then the Oxa Reserve platinum with grey dial, 40 mil. And I knew that would be a problem. And it proved to be a problem. I mean, it's still a very, very special thing. And stand out on the wrist, stand out in design. It's special. And I'm worried that one day in the next 12 to 24 months, Ed Wood Shaw at the London boutique is going to call and say, Just, you won't believe it. We've got something in for you. And then the store searching begins.
Yeah, and then the podcast stops because you left the country because you sold something.
But no, people, that was it. I should give you some other highlights of the show just while we're on the roll. So Nomos came at us with 31 references, bright coloured dials. That for me was pure fun, and it was great to have them at the show. And for just under £2,000, in-house caliber, 38mm stainless steel case, fun dial. They're only making like 100 and something of each model. That's awesome. To me, I'm really thinking about getting one of those. IWC have made some really nice adjustments to the dials of their Portugueses. They've reworked the cases, so a fair bit thinner. That was always a pushback from some people, it was a bit thick. Fair bit thinner. The case has been beautifully constructed. Brushed side flanks, and then the dial reworked in the way that super geeks out there will look at the original Portugueses and see how the sub dials will mark it up, and that's what you've got in these new ones. So it's a really, really great job. Probably one of the best I've seen from Odyssey in recent years of just refining the design. Yeah. They came out with a blue dial, like an ice blue dial, which was great.
I love that. That looked stunning.
And in perpetual calendar and an automatic and in chronographs.
And the eternal calendar as well.
The eternal calendar, the showstopper. And Brian Cox, what an unexpected champion of the show. I've always loved him. He's a bit like Attenborough. I think both of them, they're national treasures. And he's such a lovely bloke. And I didn't get a chance to chat with him. Although
you're not a flat earther?
I'm not, actually. Okay. But I do hug trees. I do hug trees completely nude on a Sunday afternoon. But that's a side note. I almost ran into him coming out of his hotel, which was quite cool. And I thought, am I going to record him talking about his watch? No, I'm just going to leave him crack on with a beautiful morning in Geneva. But what an unexpected star of the show. But that Portuguese Perpetua is insane because you see it, and the top sort of quarter of the watch is actually the eternal calendar, which is a perpetual calendar. Yeah. It's domed and has this incredible presence to it, and the subdials are in glass. And the dial itself is white lacquer. It's just a spectacle. I've always loved that dial, but that was taking it to a whole nother level. The moon phase, accurate for 45 million years. Absolutely bonkers. It's a secular calendar.
Because that's what they were saying with the leap year, right? Isn't that every 400 years?
Yes,
and it would still work, right?
Well, we don't know after 400.
Yeah.
4,000, sorry. 4,000. Year
4,000 years.
Okay. The year 4,000.
Right.
We don't know because we don't know what leap years are going to come. So that's the problem. We don't actually know. We haven't agreed yet as humanity, what's to come.
So you're all right with that watch up
And
until
your
the year
digits,
4000.
the digits will
then
come
you're
in the
trouble.
watch, right? So you've got the additional
Then ask for your
digits.
money back in the year 4000, right?
Absolutely. Now, the statement of intent there is cool because they're saying they're still going to be around.
Yeah.
That's wicked. But in the box, you've got your digits that you can get the watchmaker to upgrade every century.
Yeah.
So there you go. What a story. That's watchmaking. Watchmaking is about stories.
And
that's a story.
The one thing that's really interesting with sitting down and chatting to you about this is, and it was similar last year, because when you are at a watch event, and obviously I've only done Dubai Watch Week and other little events in London, you do get a different feel from a watch on your wrist. And sometimes you can see one from afar and you read about it and see it. We do tend to be quite aligned because IWC, I wrote down what I liked, what I didn't like. Hermès was down there. IWC, I really like. And as you know, I'm not sure about the Portuguese, but I love the update. I love the Eternal.
By the way, Lacadal on the black with the rose gold case, that combination with a black Lacadal, it's almost mirrored. It looks a bit like a chronometric blur, but black dial, and it's mirrored. It's
so
pretty incredible. I see the Lacadals are starting to become a big thing amongst brands. Cool. But sorry to interrupt. IWC was cool.
My only question on that was, obviously they've got the 44 and then they'd also got the 42s.
Yeah, and a 40.
And a 40.
Time only.
Do you still feel that there's too many big watches out
Do you know what? I think
collection?
a watch is about context and proportionality in its design and consideration in its design. And I've come to the point where you've got to look at the watch by itself and forget everything else and just say, here it is. Here's its history. Here's what it was designed for. In the 30s, when that watch... Was it 30? Yeah, 31. No, that's the reverse, so 1931. But in the 30s, when that watch was commissioned by the Portuguese marinemen, or whatever they were, that watch was designed to be big. It was designed to be big, and so to me, the Portuguese has always been big, and that's okay. Like, as part of my journey, it's like I think it's more refined now than ever. This new case feels much more like the original case, which was thinner. Pocket watch movement in a large case. It was like they wanted to wear a pocket watch on their wrist for marine chronometry, although it's not a marine chronometer, but that's the vibe. And so to me, 40 plus is only the natural domain for what a Portuguese should be. So I'm not looking for that. Whereas I look at the LUC 1860 and I think that's a 36, 37 millimeter watch. Absolutely perfect. And now I'm comfortable with the idea of rocking that type of size, and I'm comfortable rocking this, which is a 44 mil in ceramic, and that's okay. Right.
We have gone well over time, as we always do. Because I even wanted to ask you about the show part of the LUC releases, but no, we don't have time for those.
What else have we got? Can I just think of, is there anything else I have to throw in there?
You know, there was a steel LUC, and there was
very nice.
The green
that's
dial.
39 mils. That's beautiful.
I wanted to see that live because I wanted to see how it played with light and all of that.
I love that. I love that. Vacheron, world's most complicated pocket watch. You can't get past the fact some dude in the States has commissioned another pocket watch, the same guy that did before, and this is the Berkeley, and it's how many complications? Oh shit, I don't know. Loads of complications. It's the most complicated watch. It's the first time a Chinese calendar's been integrated in. I mean, that is a statement of intent from a brand, right? How do you get your head around that?
Yeah.
Look at this thing. It looks like a curling puck. That's what it is. It's properly cool. 39 millimeter patrimony from Vacheron. That with an old silver dial, you've got to see that in the metal. Closed case back, 39 mil. You've got to see that.
I always say the patrimony is such an underrated watch,
and
it is exactly as you say. It's one. As soon as I remember going into Vacheron and saying, "Oh, what have you got?" and blah blah blah, and they just gave me the patrimony, and I remember putting it on, and it was one of those where you do have to wear it. That's one where the photos never do it justice anywhere near it.
The curvature to it, the case
the
profile,
proportions
how thin
just
it is,
seem to be
stunning.
Perfect. But
that's all I want to say. That's just come to the top of my mind.
I think Vacheron's a nice one to end on.
Laurent Ferrier, Christ almighty, sorry, we can't. Sorry. One of the stars of the show for a lot of people out there, and I tell you what, I put a photo, it actually went far more bonkers, that photo I took of this classic moon from Laurent Ferrier than even the Le Mans did. I think it's almost at 5,000-6,000 likes at the moment. This one photo of a rose gold case with a silver brushed dial moon phase, which lights up at night, loomed moon phase at 6 o'clock, double moon.
Just knock it out of the park though.
Absolutely stunning. The detailing that Laurent has had, they finish their movements in-house. They get another third party to make the movements. They finish it in-house, but he designs it. His design vision and touch. He makes watches like they were made 30, 40 years ago for the modern age. It's Patek at their prime. That's what he's making.
And he keeps knocking out the park again in Dubai. That's
End of story.
In Dubai, I got to with his son, and his son was there selling the watches, or not selling, allowing you to try them on, and every one of them you were like, oh.
Tell me the Gallet case.
Wow.
Is not one of the most beautiful things ever created in all of watchmaking. It's the pebble case.
Yeah.
The way it sits on your wrist, an organic shape. Mm-hmm. It's seamlessly elegant. Right, I'll move on, people. I'm going to pass out with excitement.
Right, so, Cartier we mentioned. I looked down my list, by the way, and we've naturally just covered it all off the top of the head. I mean, my phone went off, so as in... Cartier, the Tortue and Tiny Tank. But anyway, I think we should probably move on because I'm not sure we have time. But I thought Cartier, again, just doing a great job. They just seem to have so many watches. Every watch and models, they've got so much coming out.
I'm sort of thinking like... how do you want to do it? Do you want to have a little flash? I think I know what you're coming to. Do you want a little flash?
Well, because this is called the Watch Journey, and obviously that was your journey to Watches and Wonders.
Yeah.
So we can sort of
there was pretty much I had 2 watches, right, for Watches and Wonders. I mean, everyone thinks about what they're going to wear to the show, right?
Yeah.
I had this Top Gun, which I love, ceramic, and then I did have another watch, and I think maybe if you agree, just to close off, we can have a little flash of that, and then leave it up to the comments.
Okay.
And we'll leave it at the comments.
So hang on, can you tell me the story? Because now look, you've gone back to the Top Gun.
Yep.
It's come back. It's come back to you.
Yes,
actually, I think. So we'll leave the Top Gun.
Yep.
You can, show it to the camera.
Do you want me to whip something out?
But tell us the story. So how on earth did this come about? Because this is very special. That's all I know. It's a very special watch. But tell us about it and how did it come about?
Here it is, people. So here it is. Ladies and gents, here it is. We'll get some better shots.
Even the gold from here, by the way, just
it's popping, right?
It's like a sort of treasure. Like the Goonies, if they, like when they find the treasure or whatever.
So the dial solid gold, yellow gold, solid gold case.
Can I take it out?
Please, yeah. I happen to love that little pouch as well from Awkward. It's big man tings. So this is the sort of thing that I think you would pick up.
So much better in the flesh.
I think you would pick this up at a Phillips auction, right? That's the sort of watch that I think you would pick up, and you would.
It changes colour. Like as you change the light, the gold.
It flexes. It flexes. Yeah. This Pete Boy is probably the most sort of intense, serious bit of kit that I've ever picked up. This, ladies and gents, is a Vacheron Constantin Mercator from 1996. They made them for a couple of years. And it was to honour the 400th anniversary of Mercator himself, a Belgian chap who was a cartographer, so a guy who made maps. And this was his vision of the world 400 years prior to the making of these watches in the mid-90s. So for me, what is there to say about this watch? It fits you, Pete, it fits your wrist absolutely perfectly, by the way. The audacity of the case to start with, it's 36 millimeters, 37 millimeters, but wears bigger, because the audacity of the case is such that the lugs are just absolutely pronounced.
Yeah.
Untouched, unpolished, and it came from Ben at Watch Brothers London. He messaged me. I tried one on years ago, and he messaged me and said, "Josh, you won't believe it. I've got the best example of a Mercator I've ever had. It's just popped into sale, and what are you going to do about it?" I was like, oh, you bugger! Like, what the hell are you doing to me? And it was the one I wanted. It had the map, so they had a number of different maps. There was about 600 plus of them made. And they all had different kind of maps. This one has the whole world on it. And there's little things like the little monster, the sea monster there on the dial. There's the signature from the husband and wife who did the enameling. So the dial is gold. They've cut they've hand cut out the map. And then they've hand filled the dial with black enamel. Not dissimilar to your Anderson Genève in the way they filled the enamel.
Yeah.
So it's a really unusual, it's not cloisonné enamel. There were some cloisonné enamel versions, which is sort of coloured, vibrant enamels. But yellow gold, you can see the oxidization on the case where the guy's not really worn it. It was from Japan. It came from Tokyo, where it was originally sold. Full set. The retrograde hands. You've got the same length retrograde hands that tell you hours and minutes in a compass style. Compass style hands. The audacity to take, but to link the story of travel, the story of human exploration and travel on a dial, and do that just blows my mind.
I mean,
absolutely.
When you wrote to me and you said, "I'm thinking of this," or I was just like, well, "You can get one of those," as in, because I'd seen them before, but as in,
there's like one or two on Chrono. That's it. Every so often, a collector man has one, and it kind of comes and goes. You rarely see them. Special. But to me, that is a proper FU watch.
It's just got a bit of everything though, isn't it? Because again, the size is subtle, but again, the lugs are amazing because they are properly they're coming out at you.
Super geeks out there will note that the lugs are almost the same as the 2499 perpetual calendar from Patek. Which was the first, was it first? It wasn't serially produced, actually, that was later, but it was a perpetual calendar early on. And it's got, by the way, the movement inside is the same as the Royal Oak and the Nautilus. So it's the same one as in the 15202.
So it's
21 JLC caliber base.
Yeah.
There it is. There it is. So it's been adjusted by the team at Vacheron at the time to take on the retrograde capacity.
Come on, it's your turn to wear it now.
And the fun thing about watches, these two watches are entirely different, and that's fine.
I think that's even better.
Just crispy.
So is the time, by the way, 1:30 on that watch?
No, I haven't set it.
I know you haven't set it, but
the time
is that 1:30? Have I read that right?
1:30. So timing is not always as easy. It definitely took me a bit of time to get used to. And also the accuracy of the timing is slightly different.
Because you initially look at it like thinking, well, that's the date. You think, those are the date. And then you realise, oh no, hang on, it goes up to 60 on one side and then it goes up to 12 on the other side. So actually it's a really, does it jump back? How does it go? So it jumps.
It's powered. It's powered in that sense. So it retrogrades. It goes so the hours go.
And then when it swings back.
And then it swings back the whole way to restart.
And are you just constantly setting it to
and
sort
I did
of
a little video actually. I did a little
way?
video for it on the plane where I noticed it was about to do that, and I got the moment. I mean, this is proper watch geek stuff. It's like train spotters watching the trains connect and going and shedding a tear. But it blew my mind, and that to me was the watchmaking prowess in it, because the quality of the watchmaking is second to none.
Yeah,
it's a jewel. Yeah. It's a jewel. And it's not one for every day, that's for sure. But on the odd occasion, the special occasion, when it feels right.
But it's subtle enough though, right?
It's
subtle enough. Like as in it's so, oh man, it's so good. As in it just looks, it's just how it plays with the light. And then you see the hands as well, because the hands are slightly different obviously to the light. And so you do go, if you're a watch nerd, you are like, what's that?
In the polished,
what's that? What's the pin?
The compass
there?
hands are polished on one side and matte on the other. So polished on one side and then non-polished on it, so it gives you a 3D effect on the hands.
So seeing it from afar is a bit like a Russian doll, because you go, oh, that's a nice, subtle gold, and then you go, oh, it's gold on gold. That's it, and then you see the compass, and then you go, oh, what's that on the dial? Like, you're constantly just going,
and then the movement's the final kicker.
Yeah, and then you're just slowly getting sucked. You're right. Completely sucked into it. I can't think of
another gold on gold. Like gold on gold is quite a strong design statement.
Yeah.
So anyway, this was the watch for the show, and I for the most part, and I really enjoyed the contrast with this Top Gun.
From that.
There was some cool moments. I mean, like some lovely profile moments, and I think it was unexpected. And for me, this is where I'm at right now in the journey, in the watch journey, and I'm just at that point where I'm into the unexpected. And as a side note, Ben was fantastic from start to finish. I was just a normal customer to him, and he was a dealer to me, but he was fantastic. So, yeah, just a bit of feedback there, guys.
Amazing. There we go. That is season 2, episode 1 in the can.
Shit.
What's your line again?
Goodbye and good night.
No, on your emails.
Win the day.
Win the day.
Win the day.
Come on,
right, guys.
We've got to do that. I mean,
is that our sign off? That's our sign off.
Right. Well, it's your sign off. But
guys, we don't know what's coming next. We don't know what the next episode
always
holds for us. So episode 2, season 2, we don't know what's to come.
No idea.
But we hope
especially
you're going to be here
now
to join
that I've run out of money. So it's just Justin talking about watches generally.
Bloody hell, Pete. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.